Hello guys and girls and welcome to the next Keyforge deck discussion video, and in this video we are gonna talk about my probably strongest deck I do on right now. We are talking about Zar Gespenst Davenport, and don't be fooled by this score right here, organized play, 0 wins and 3 losses. There's a little bit fun history around that. So I went to my first chain-bound event with this and I won 3-0. It was a survivor tournament, so after you lose, your deck is gone and you have to play the next one. I won all the decks, so I could just play throughout of this deck. Everyone else had to change their deck throughout, and I won 3-0 there. Problem is, the store I was there, they weren't really know how to handle the software, and in the end they weren't able to put it online. I still won it, I still won a deck there, and a pin, and all this good stuff we get at tournaments. But yeah, that's why it's not an organized play thing. Then the next week I went to a different store, and there it was an adapted Archon tournament, which means the first game you play, like you usually do, then you change the decks. Like I play with my opponent's decks, he plays with mine, and then if one deck won twice, or in other words, if it stays 1-1, then you can bid chains to for the winner deck, basically for the deck which won 2 times. But yeah, and then play a third game with that, and that game having changed, that's the deciding game then. So, and there I sadly went 0-3, but that means actually that this deck, I don't know how, if I played it wrong or if I just bad luck in drawing, but when I had it lost and my opponent had it won, and that's why I lost all my games 2-0. One game actually went to a 1-1, but then my opponent got this deck, like my deck, with I think 6 chains and still managed to win versus me. So yeah, that's how the record there is. So yeah, don't be fooled. This is the record is I guess on me. I don't know if it's bad draw. It's always difficult to tell. You always have a bit of bias when you look back at your game. Like it's very easy to blame it on bad drawing, but maybe I just played it wrong as well. Maybe I could have made some better plays and actually won those games. But yeah, the overall throws. But let's go finally into the deck and let's stop my excuses for this bad record right here. But yeah, the houses we have are Sanctum, Shadows, and Untamed. Now let's start with Sanctum and start from top to bottom as usual. You already see some fun stuff right here if you know Keyforge. But yeah, let's go from top. We have 2 Doorstep of Heaven. Doorstep of Heaven is an action card, gains an Aember. Each player with 6 or more Aember is reduced to 5. That applies to yourself as well, but this is a very strong and very annoying card for your opponent. Very good Aember control because you basically plays and you're guaranteed that the opponent can't forge, barring he has some things which reduce the key cost. But that's a very nice card, and that's probably one of the best Aember control cards in Sanctum, because it doesn't matter if he has 10 or 11 or just 7 or 6 Aember, down to 5 always. You just should be careful, you get the Aember first and then you get potentially reduced to 5. So if you have 5 Aember yourself, you actually won't gain the Aember from the cards, because you would go into 6 and then everyone goes down to 5, so he's still at 5. So yeah, it can be a bit double-edged, but usually you decide the moment to play it, and yeah, you can just wait for a moment when your opponent has a bunch of Aember and you have very little, and there are actually 2 of those, so yeah, calling Sanctum in this deck is very nice for the opponent. Then you got Radiant Truth. Let me scrub it so you can see it. Gains your Aember as well, and stun each enemy creature not on the flank. So this is the most effective, of course, when your opponent has a lot of creatures on board, because otherwise he needs at least 3 so you can stun 1. And yeah, the only good thing, I like the other one more, the Blinding Light, because where you can stun each creature from 1 house. That affects you as well, sadly, but you usually can stun a lot of more things with even if your opponent has only 2 creatures on board. But either way, it gains an Aember and you can stun some stuff. But yeah, your opponent needs a lot of on board for this to be really effective. But I mean, you gain Aember either way, and it's a free card to play. So then we got Shield of Justice, gains an Aember as well. For the remainder of the turn, each friendly creature cannot be dealt damage. That is great for fighting, mainly, because you can play this card, you can then fight with all the creatures and they're not getting damage in return. So you can basically fight for free and even attack the big creatures and with your creatures surviving. And this is a nice combo card already with some of the ladder decks in this Sanctum side, but let's continue. Then we got 2 Bulwarks. Pretty straightforward. For my first creature, 4 power, 2 armor, and each of the neighbors gets +2 armor. One of my favorite Sanctum cards, and having 2 in the deck is very nice, because then a lot of creatures will have armor and be like, and are basically immune to the very little ping damage you can get from anything. So now we can go to the Horsemen. So you can see this is a Horseman deck. I have 4 Horsemen right here. We start with the Horseman of Death, which is a Horseman spirit creature, 5 power. Return each Horseman creature from your discard pile to your hand. So basically this is the most important one, because this one recycles your Horsemen. You usually want to keep him in hand, play first your other 3 Horsemen, then eventually they get destroyed, and then you can play the Horseman of Death, get them in hand, and play them out in the same turn since it calls Sanctum. So yeah, this is probably the most important Horseman. Then we got the Horseman of Famine, play, fight, reap, so whatever you do with him, destroy the least powerful creature. That of course affects you as well. So sometimes you don't want to reap or fight with this creature if you have an important lowest creature on board. But like similar to the Gossip Heaven, you are the one deciding when to play, fight or reap with him. The good thing is if there are multiple ones which fight for the low spot, like a lot of 2-power creatures, you as the active player can decide which one of the 2-power creatures is destroyed. So you can usually get a lot of effectiveness out of the Horseman of Famine. Then we got the Horseman of Pestilence. Play, fight, reap, deal 1 damage to each non-horseman creature. Like, once again, this affects you as well. That's where the bulwarks come in handy, because if you play them next to your non-horseman creatures and give them some armor, they are immune to this damage. And yeah, that's already a nice combo with all these fight abilities. You can play the Shield of Justice, then fight with them, get the effect, and they don't get damage in return. And then we have the Horseman of War. For the remainder of the turn, each friendly creature can be used as the active house, but can only fight. So basically, all your other creatures on board, they can fight as well. And that's my big turn I like a lot with Horseman of War and the Shield of Justice, because then even the creatures which are not from the house Sanctum, once they're fighting, they don't get damage in return. Which is nice, because I have some weaker creatures on the other houses, like the big creatures are all in Sanctum. But yeah, these are the 4 horsemen. The horseman bubble was they were a lot overhyped at the beginning of the game. Like decks went for 200 and more euros. And yeah, they are good, but they're not like game winning changing. Like only having the horsemen doesn't make a good deck. But this deck I think does, because there are some other fun cards, like the Doorstep Tavern, already a very important card. And yeah, next up we got next creature, which is Sequus. Reap, capture 1, 2 armor for power, pretty straightforward, and a bit more Aember control for the deck, which is nice. And then the most fun thing to play when your opponent doesn't expect it is a Maverick bait and switch in Sanctum. So I have every deck can maximum have 1 bait and switch. I have mine not in Shadows, but in Sanctum. That is very fun if your opponent doesn't know that you have it in the deck like that, like they don't check the identity card. You can, like they play, for example, Control the Weak. So, like, no, I don't want Aember Stolen. You get, you are not allowed to play Shadows. Let's call it Sanctum. And then you put all the bait and switch, and yeah, it's pretty fun to see that happening. But yeah, the bait and switch is in Sanctum. Doesn't really make too big of a difference, barring the surprise factor. Like, I don't have any really more cards which can use the bait and switch, like combo out of it, because Doorstep to Heaven is bad with bait and switch, because then you reduce them to 5 and then stealing doesn't really work. Then you steal out of it, then they not reduce to 5. So it's more of a fun thing to have a bait and switch and a very big surprise factor for the opponent potentially. Then now going for the shadow side, first we got Booby Trap. What gives you 1 Ember, deals 4 damage to a creature that is not on a flank with 2 damage splash. So that means the neighbors get 2 damage as well. So this is a very nice cleanup card, because essentially you're doing 8 damage to divided by 3 creatures, and the opponent has to have at least 3 creatures, because you can't choose creatures on the flank, so similar to Radiant of Truth. But once he has 3 creatures, or even 4, that's the proper placing of this trap can be very important to get rid of some cards. But yeah, the damage is nice, gains an Ember as well, pretty straightforward. Then we get Lights Out, which is some kind of removal, gets an Ember as well, and return 2 enemy creatures to the owner's hand. So 1 card gets rid of 2 creatures, which is very nice. I like that card with Booby Trap. If your opponent has a strong board, you can like basically return 2 creatures on the hand and then put creatures next to each other which you want next to each other to get the maximum damage out of Booby Trap. So that is pretty nice. Then we got Nerve Blast, pretty straightforward. Steal 1, if you do, you can do 2 damage, so some more damage doing and stealing. Then we get Relentless Whispers, gains you an Ember, deal 2 damage to a creature. If this creature is destroyed, steal 1. That is very nice, because the stealing effect is the additional thing, so you have to destroy, but you don't have to play this on an opponent creature. You can destroy your own creature to steal 1 and gain 1. So basically you get 2 Ember and steal 1, but you get rid of your own creature, which is not as big of a problem with the other shadow cards you see later down the line. Then we have the Seeker Needle, pretty straightforward. You want damage to, as an artifact, you want damage to creature. If this damage destroys the creature, gain 1 Ember. So similar to Relentless Whisper, you can either ping an opponent creature with that and do the last damage, or you do it on a creature of your own and gain that Ember. Then you have the Speed Sigil, which is I like the card a lot in this deck. It's a bit two-edged sword as well. You gain Ember when you play it, and the first creature played each turn enters the play ready. So that means your opponent's creatures do enter ready as well. Depending on the opponent, they forget this a lot that they can do this. And in tournaments play, you don't have to remind them. Like they come in ready, yes, but if they don't want to use them, like you can just assume that they never use them. But either way, it happens a lot that the opponent forgets about this card. But there's a lot of things where this can come in useful, because with all the for example, reef effects of these 2 horsemen, you play them, you get the effect, and then you can immediately reap with them or fight with them and get the effect again. So basically you can get 2 damage across the board with Horseman of Pestilence in 1 turn, or kill the 2 least powerful creatures with the Horseman of Famine, or even acces if you need to capture an Aember. You can play as immediate capture. I don't like playing this Speed Sigil without having a play myself, which can capitalize on that. Like I don't like playing the Speed Sigil and then ending my turn, so my opponent is the first one who can use the effect of Speed Sigil to, for his Aember control or whatever he wants to do. I like to copy that or combo that with more creatures from mine. Look, like I have a shadow card to play after that, and they can immediately, like, I can at least get something out of it, and then the opponent can potentially get something out of it as well. Right? But it's very deck dependent, like who gets more out of it, if it's me or the opponent. But most of the times, with the deck I have the use card of great success, and the opponent doesn't like it. Then we got the Bad Penny, and this is one of the cards I was talking about. 1 power, destroyed, return Bad Penny to hand. So if you play Relentless Whispers on your Bad Penny, it comes back to your hand, you can steal 1, then you can just play the Bad Penny again. Same with Seeker Needle, you can destroy your own Bad Pennies to get the Aember and then play Bad Penny out again. So very straightforward combo. Just 2 card rise. Very nice. It's always nice to have at least 1 Bad Penny in combination with Relentless and Seeker Needle. Multiple Bad Pennies can get annoying since they clog your hand. If your opponent destroys them, they're just in your hand, and if you don't call shadows, they stay in your hand, you're not drawing new cards. So I like only having 1 Bad Penny. Multiple Seeker Needles would be nice, because then I can play Bad Penny, Seeker Needle, destroy, Bad Penny again, next Seeker Needle destroys the Bad Penny, but I like having only 1 Bad Penny deck. I saw decks with 3 of them, and I think that's too much. It's kind of like similar to Dexter, where it just comes back, and you're kind of not really a fan of that. You don't want it in your hand anymore. Then next, one of my favorite cards to play after I play Speed Sigil is Bullet Eye, because once 2 power, Elusive and Reap destroy a flank creature. So if your opponent only has 2 creatures, both of them are flank, and if they only have 1 creature, that's automatically a flank creature. So that is very nice. You play basically the Speed Sigil, play Bullet Eye, and you can immediately destroy something and gain 2 Aember in a turn, because 1 for Speed Sigil and 1 for Reaping with Bullet Eye. Bullet Eye, there's a combo potential as well with Lights Out, like you play Lights Out and remove some cards to something different, it's on the flank, and then you can destroy it with the Bullet Eye. Then we have Call of Phantom, which Elusive Skirmish, each time you play an artifact, steal 1 card. We already showcased that in the Homer deck. This time there's not too many artifacts in this deck, there's actually only 3. The Seeker Needle, the Speed Sigil, and 1 artifact in Untamed, the Ritual of Balance, which we will talk about later. So you can't not do too much with it, but I mean, once you steal 1, he was already worth it, but not too effective in this deck. Then you got Magda the Rat. Elusive, the first time you play this creature, Elusive, you know what it does, but play steal 1, and at least play your opponent steals 1. So this is a very strong Aember control card. Stealing 2, by just playing, like guaranteed stealing 2 is very strong. But of course, it's the downside that once leaves play, so it doesn't have to be destroyed. It can just put back into your hand, be purged, be put back in your deck or anything, and your opponent steals 1 from your side. So this can potentially be very devastating, potentially when you basically steal 1, 2, your opponent can't get rid of your Aember, then you forge, and then you only have, for example, 1 Aember or 0 Aember. Once this card leaves the play, he only gets 1 Aember or 0 Aember, since he can't steal more. So on the timing, this card can be very nice. Of course, elusive, so it's more difficult to get rid of it, and 4 power is nothing to scoff at. But yeah, it's more of a delay tactic. You play this card, steal 2, but eventually your opponent will steal the 2 back. So, but it's still, it basically gains your turn by stealing 2 from your opponent, and yeah, still he can, and then next turn he can steal 2 back, but yeah, and they can't forge a key. Then you got Silvertooth, which enters the play ready, so most importantly with Speed Sigil, he enters the play double ready, which doesn't change anything, but it sounds cooler, and yeah, just very nice card. You can play it, most of the times you just play it and reap with it, but there are other combos in this deck as well. You can like attack something, get rid of the elusive, and then use another creature to kill it. And yeah, next up we got an upgrade, which is Duskrunner. This creature gains Reap, Steal 1. This is very nice with once Duskrunner, because you play Duskrunner, play Silvertooth, you play Silvertooth, play Duskrunner on that, and then it's ready. You can immediately Reap, you gain 1 and you steal 1, so you're getting 2 Aember and you steal 1 in the process. And of course Duskrunner is nice with the Speed Sigil, so it doesn't matter what you play, once the play enters the play ready, you can always use the Duskrunner to steal 1. And I like it actually a lot with Bullet Eye, because every time Bullet Eye reaps, you get to steal 1, destroy a flank creature, and you get an Aember. So a lot of effects for one creature, but of course it's always difficult to tell when to stack all that effects on one creature. So your opponent has one big target he wants to get rid of, or if you have multiple not as threatening targets, your opponent has to decide. So, but the combo, it happened a lot, and your opponent usually needed a few turns to get rid of Bullet Eye, and it's just way too strong. Destroy a flank creature, stealing 1 and reaping. So yeah, both I get very strong with Dusk Runner. But yeah, this is the Shadow side, like I said, a good amount of stealing and Aember control with the Aember control and Sanctum. Very nice there. And then we go to the Untamed side. First we got Cooperative Hunting. Deal 1 damage for each friendly creature in play. Divide this damage among any number of creatures. So basically you can decide 1 damage to this, 4 damage to this, 2 damage to this, 3 damage to this, whatever you want to do. And yeah, it depends on you having a lot of creatures, which can happen because like I said, we have a good amount of, Sanctum creatures. We have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 creatures untamed as well. In Shadows we have a bit less. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creatures in Shadows. But overall, there's a good amount of creatures in this deck, so the Cooperative Hunting can get strong, especially if you play a good amount of untamed creatures in that turn, and then you play Cooperative Hunting, does a lot of damage. So yeah, nice removal card. Then we got the Key Charge, which is a very important card. Lose 1 Ember. If you do, you may forge Key at current cost. So that prevents the opponent from stealing or getting rid of your Ember or whatever. If you forge in your turn, that's always nice. And having that option is great. Then we got Life Web, which is one of the Ember control cards of Untamed. If your opponent played 3 or more creatures on the previous turn, steal 2 Ember, and you gain 1 Ember either way. It's very situational, since you have to wait till your opponent plays 3 or more creatures, which is not that easy. Like, it doesn't happen that often. It's always, you have to always decide, do you like keep it in your hand and wait till it happens, or do you just play it immediately to get an Ember and draw new cards? But yeah, it's one of the few Ember control cards in Untamed, and if you actually get to play it, like stealing 2, like I said with Max the Red, is very strong. And you gain 1 more Ember by playing it, so you're basically getting 3 Ember in that turn. That's already 3 Ember for the 7 you need for Key Charge, so that's half of it gone. And let's say you have from Ember already, you can very easily get the Key Charge off. Then you got the Nocturnal Maneuver, exhaust up to 3 creatures. It's very nice for stalling your opponent. Like, let's say he just played 3 creatures, you can play the Life Web, then you play Nocturnal Maneuver, exhaust these 3 creatures, and you get another Ember, and your opponent can't really do anything with the creatures on board since they're exhausted, and they de-exhaust, what's it called, getting made ready at the end of the turn, so they're not ready for the turn itself, and you're basically, yeah, stalling, and you can get, basically remove some storing creatures for the next turn, either for fighting or the reaping or action effects. Then you got Richard of Balance, the other effect in deck. If your opponent has 6 or more Ember, steal 1. So this is one of the other Ember control cards in Untamed. Untamed is not known for the best Ember control, but I like that I have 2 of them already. Like I said, the Ember control in this deck is very nice, and we have the Horsemans and strong other things. That's why I think this deck is so strong. But yeah, very straightforward. If you want a 6 of Ember, tap it, steal 1. Then we got the Ancient Bear, nothing too much to talk about him either. 5 power, Assault 2, pretty strong creature. And with Assault 2 you can get rid of Elusive once as well, because the Assault damage actually doesn't count to the prevented damage from Elusive, because it's not part of the fight, because like you see, before this creature attacks. Then we got 2 Dew Fairies, which are very nice because they're elusive for once, 2 power, and Reap gain 1. So basically once you reap with him, you gain 2. 1 for a regular reaping and 1 for the reap effect. And this is a great card to have the Speed Sigil out as well. You have the Speed Sigil out, play the Dew Fairy, gain 2, and that gives you the Ember you need for the Key Charge, for example. So that's a nice combo. Then we got Fluxia. If you have more creatures, you gain 2 Ember. Like I said, more of the Ember Rush from Untamed with Key Charge, very strong potentially. Like I said, there's a good amount of creatures and good amount of creature removal. Like most of the things we do damage. The only straight destroying thing we have is the Bullet Eye and the Horseman of Famine. Most of the time you're just gonna do damage to things, but you're very likely to have more creatures than your opponent. So Fluxia can do some potentially good damage, barring your opponent plays like Sanctum, Brobner as well, with a lot of strong creatures there damage is not enough. Then Fluxia is more difficult to pull off. And then, at last but definitely not least, we got 2 Niffle Apes with the Niffle Queen. First of all, Niffle Ape, of course, 3 power creature. When Niffle Ape is attacking, ignore Taunt or Elusive, so you can basically dance around your opponent and just destroy the elusive creatures or attack around the taunting creatures. We got 2 of those with 3 power. They're Niffle and the Beast, and with the Niffle Queen, each other friendly Beast creature gets +1, and each other Niffle creature gets +1. So that means that once I play this, the Niffle Apes get boosted to +5, since they're both a Beast and a Niffle. And Niffle Queen itself is pretty strong with 6 power, and the only other beast we have is the Ancient Bear, which gets another 1 power, so it's a 6 power card. The Dew Fairies and the Fluxia are sadly not beasts, and in the other decks I have no beasts. So yeah, we got Niffle Queen with the Niffle Ape, so pretty nice synergy there. It's just there to have it's basically strong creatures on board with the Niffle Apes and the Niffle Queen. But yeah, that's the total deck. Like I said, a lot of strong Ember control, be it the Bait and Switch, be it the Doorstep to Heavens, be it the Sequus, be it the Nerve Blast, the Relentless Whispers, the Cataphantom, Mac the Rat, the Dusk Runner, the Key Charge, the Ritual of Balance, a lot of things. Then you have a lot of strong features. We have the Ember Rush from Untamed with Key Charge, and then we have the Horseman, which just have great synergy in itself, and yeah, keep the board basically clean from threats which have low power and either die from famine or from the damage from pestilence. But yeah, that's the total of the deck. We will have some games with it. Like I said, this is, from my experience with this deck, barring in this one tournament, of course, this is the strongest deck I have so far, and I think we will have some fun games, dominating games with this in the gameplay videos, but yeah, that's all for this. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe, you know the deal. Hit me on Twitter and Facebook, all the links in the description, and I will see you another time. Ciao.